Hello and welcome to a new episode and a new year of So French.
Bonne année.
In this show we give you the twists and turns of French politics and an insight to all things French.
Every 2 weeks we select the best, most interesting and fascinating of French news stories, all brought to you from our studio in the heart of Paris. My name is Stefan de Vries.
And my name is Sara Bertilsson.
And this week, 7 weeks and counting, France is grappling with its longest transport strike in modern history and its biggest overhaul of its pension system since World War II. But this is starting to take its toll on all parties, from the government to strikers to shop and restaurant owners. How long will this go on?
And the story about the bin man caught on camera taking a nap, and as the photo started circulating on social media, he was trashed himself.
But first, well, we have not been on strike, Sarah.
We have not been on strike.
We were just hibernating, a bit lazy due to all the festivities in December.
And I must admit also the difficulties of actually getting together, because it hasn't been really easy.
It was really complicated to get around. Yeah, I think I've lost at least 3 kilos of cycling these past couple of weeks. And in our last show, in the beginning of December, we joked that maybe this would continue for many months. And here we are. The joke's on us, because it's already almost 2 months now. Eh?
Yeah, and well, as this week, it's 45 days
incredible.
Of strike.
7 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And the disruption hasn't been maximum the whole time, we can say. And it's when it comes to the transportation strike, it was more difficult before Christmas, we could say, especially with the high-speed trains and regional trains, and for the Paris region, also the buses and metro trains. It's getting a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's not fully, I mean, we're still not
messy. And you don't know when exactly it's better. Yeah. Of course, the only 2 lines that were running without problems were line 1 and 14, because there are no drivers. So that's maybe the future. But it's especially horrible in Paris. I was in Lyon last week, and there were no strikes of the tramways or the metros. Everything was going on normally. So, but yeah, particularly in Paris, of course, the heart of the country, the center of the country, it has been a mess. Huh?
Yeah, it has been a mess. And I mean, most people have been forced to find alternative solutions if it comes to working hours, or if it comes to working at home, or daycare for their children, because of course this has also been affecting the schools, where we had several days of action, of striking action, and then of course all spare time hobbies, activities that are affected by this too, because you can't literally get from one side to the city to the other, or at least it gets very complicated. But one good thing, as we were talking about, is the fact that, you know, the number of cyclists in Paris has really exploded. Yeah. Not all Parisians really know how to bicycle, or what do you say, Stefan?
No, I saw many dangerous situations.
As a Dutch, how do you feel about it?
Well, in theory, it's a good thing that people are taking now more bikes. But the problem, of course, we don't have the real infrastructure in Paris. It's although it's improving, it's still a big mess. And indeed, like you mentioned, many Parisians are not used to taking a bicycle. Yeah. So they don't know the city, they're hesitating, they suddenly stop in the middle of the street. So I've seen a lot of small...
Well, we know they're bad drivers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't really follow... I'm sorry to say this, but I mean, they really don't follow.
And there were many more cars as well, of course. So it was a big mess. It still is.
Yes, because the first day of strike, on the 5th of December, it was interesting because everyone had taken their precautions, and everyone, I mean, there were people out, and I took the bike myself, and people were kind of cheerful, and there was a bit of excitement, you know, people were like really prepared for this. Yeah. And there were no cars out in the street.
True.
I've never seen Paris as empty as that 5th of December. But with the consequence that I was not the only one who saw that Paris was empty on the 5th. A lot of other people saw too. So they realized that, maybe I can take my car instead. Yeah. So the next day, the 6th, when this whole thing continued, everyone took their car. And then we were back into the extreme traffic chaos that has been going on ever since.
Apart from the 2 weeks in the end of December, the holidays. But of course, as soon as the schools and the jobs, the offices started again, it was still a big mess, and it still is. Huh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But when it comes to the good consequences, I've heard a lot of people, who have been biking, who found renewed health, we can say, for the new year after, being in better shape, actually, after all this exercise. And I had several people who've, because of the strike, managed to find new ways to get from their home to work, ways that they didn't think of before, and actually cutting short their traveling time. So
that's what a lot of people don't realize, because the Parisians are afraid to go to work on a bicycle because they're afraid that they will arrive in sweat and it takes a lot of time. But actually, it's often much faster than the metro or cars. So I wonder if this will continue, when the strike's over, if people will continue using the bicycle, because that will be actually a very positive development.
Maybe,
course.
And as you mentioned, the number of biking lanes in Paris have increased over the last decade. So, well, maybe something positive both for Parisians' health and the air we breathe can come out of it.
Yeah, maybe. So where do we stand after 7 weeks of social action? What happened to the social dialogue? Is this reform still going on, or?
Well, there's still not a real reform presented. The bill is not presented yet. That is expected to be done end of this month. So we don't know how the exact text that will be eventually voted on. But there have been several concessions. And so you can't say that all of this action has been done for nothing, because the unions have obtained quite a few concessions from the government. Maybe the most important one, and which is why the more progressive and moderate union, the CFDT, which is called here in France, decided to join this strike action, was the fact that the government had put in their proposition what's called a pivot age, which it would be an age which before that you couldn't get a full retirement, and that age was put at 64. That would be 2 years. You had to work 2 more years than what you do currently, and this was, as that union said, their red line, and they refused any acceptation of the. They refused to accept this project until that was taken out, and it was taken out of the bill. It will not be included in the bill that will be presented next.
Not yet, but maybe in a couple of years, right?
It's not in the bill. No, it won't be in the new in the reform and the new system. What happens we can never know what happens in 5, 10, 20 years. But so that was one thing. But there are also other things that have come out of this. For example, teachers here in France, the government has said yes to improve their salaries, which is something that hasn't happened for teachers in, I think, more than 15 years.
Wow, incredible.
They've seen their salaries being, diminish over the last years, because, as inflation goes up, if the salaries don't follow, well, you actually have less money at the end of the month than previously. So this is, must say, it hasn't been, the negotiations are not finished. We don't know how much money they're going to have or going to get. But it is a big, gain for the unions. The reason why they've obtained this is because the government admitted that teachers would lose out on the new pension system, and the only way to compensate for the lower pensions that they're going to get was to actually up their salaries.
Yeah. What about the economical consequences? Because it has been pretty quiet over the last months in Paris.
We haven't seen the full extent of this yet, but definitely. But as for the comfort transportation, the state-owned SNCF and RATP, which is the Parisian transportation company, they're talking about €1 billion. Yeah,
just for those 2 companies.
Yes.
And then, of course...
but then you have all the smaller companies. And, they're talking about... And it's mostly in the Parisian region, must say, where the biggest, where the, hotels, restaurants are most hit. Around Christmas, many were talking about drop about 25-30% of reservations, for example, for hotels. My local cafe, which is one, where you have both locals and tourists, they talked about a drop in about 30%. for the month of December. And I think they're not alone. I think that's
Yeah, you hear that quite often. Of course, December is the most important month with the holidays and parties. And
it has been empty. If you go out for lunch, for example, you will notice that there are, the restaurants are almost empty.
And I also saw that the Centre Pompidou has a huge drop in the number of visitors in 2019, also because of the yellow vest. But December was minus 40%. Of the people visiting the museum.
That's a good thing then. So another good thing coming out of this strike is that you can actually go see Mona Lisa for once.
Indeed. That's
without
true.
having 300 tourists in front of you. When it comes to the national economy or the state economy, though, apparently, as it looks for now, this strike has not had a major impact. That's what was.
That's what the government says. But for instance, yesterday I was walking on the street and I heard a girl talking in her phone, probably to a girlfriend, and she said, "No, I'm not coming tonight because this week I already spent €100 on Ubers and electrical scooters. So I'm just broke." And of course, that money goes into the economy, but it also means that people, they have to spend a lot of money for alternative solutions.
Well, the taxi drivers probably had a very good month.
Absolutely. Uber and all those services, because the taxi, they stay at the same rate. They kind of
there are no more taxis you can't.
No, that's true. It's very difficult. You have to order them in advance, and for the time being, it doesn't really look. It's getting a little bit better. But I don't see the end in sight.
Well, the hardline unions are saying that they're going to continue this action until the whole project of reforming the system or of changing the system is abandoned.
Yeah.
The government saying that is not going to happen, but the CGT, as that most famous hardline one, saying they want to reform the current system. They don't want a new one. But I think we can say that in 2 weeks, this will still be a story here in France, so we can continue this discussion.
I'm afraid it will. And in 2 weeks, we will still not be on strike.
Vous écoutez So French.
You are listening to So French.
Happy New Year, Stefan.
Thank you.
After all of this, happy new decade, Stefan. Well, the year started off a little bit chaotically here in France. We can say that, but there are some things, other things than the strike, to look out for this coming year. One of maybe the most important ones, especially when it comes to politics, is the local elections that are going to take place here in France in March.
Indeed. Every 6 years, the French go to the polls to elect their local councillors. 36,000 municipalities. That's half of all the municipalities in Europe are in France. To elect their councils, also their mayors. And of course, that's a big test for many parties, but more specifically for Emmanuel Macron, because 6 years ago, he didn't even exist. Well, Emmanuel Macron existed, but he was a minister of economy. Nobody thought, maybe not even himself, that he had political ambitions. So he is new in this election. It's very important because it will also be a test. If his party does well, it means that, people still more or less believe in him. If he does badly, that could influence the campaign for 2022, the new presidential elections. So it's a big test, but he's not in many cities on a list, right? It's very difficult to have local parties.
Well, the thing is, the party didn't exist, and so this grassroots movement doesn't really exist.
No.
As many other of the more traditional parties have, and especially on a local level, where it's a lot about tradition and knowing the person, etc. You have a lot of mayors who've been in power for decades here, because it's not so much about the program of a party, but more about the trust you put in that particular person.
It's
that
like a father figure, a mother figure.
Someone that from your local football association or school, or local elections are very different in that sense, and it's not about foreign policy or even retirement systems. It's about how to organize life just around in your neighborhood. So yes, there is definitely a big challenge challenge for the Republican on the Move party.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find a very creative. There's a very creative way that they're trying to get out of this.
Yeah, I heard about that. What is this exactly? It's very complicated. I didn't understand.
If we look at the what happened in last year's the European election that took place last year, where actually the big enemy of Emmanuel Macron, Marine Le Pen's National Rally Party, came out top. If you look at the national numbers. In France, it is possible that this could happen even in the local elections. If you look at, that they, because they are implemented locally and they, they have a lot of candidates. So what the suggestion from, Christophe Castaner, the interior minister, is that when after the local elections, the numbers will be announced, no city or municipality with fewer than 9,000 inhabitants will be part of that official national number.
And that's half of all the cities, I think.
No, that's 96%.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Of the municipalities in France, which means that only 6% of the municipalities will be actually declared in this national number. Of course, that will be the majority of the French inhabitants, because the population, because these, of course, these municipalities are very, very small, fewer than 9,000 people. Yeah. But still, they're taking out 96% of the municipalities from the official numbers.
Yeah, incredible. And why is that?
Well, it's because if you look at the bigger cities, that's where La République En Marche has support, and that's where they are more likely to actually get the city hall. Whilst in the smaller towns, there is a bigger possibility and advantage for National Rally Party.
Yeah. So it's a very smart trick to make the numbers nicer than they may.
It's a creative way of showing numbers, and what the response from the République En Marche is that this will show. It will be a more correct image of how the French people voted, but I'm not sure that everyone will agree on that.
Right. Some animals are more correct than others, right? Now, of course, this being France, everybody's looking at Paris, the capital. Who is getting the city hall? We have now Anne Hidalgo. She was elected in 2014 when François Hollande was a president. Who remembers him? A socialist, when the Socialist Party still existed, and she's also from the Socialist Party. Yeah. That party is completely gone. Yes. What are her chances?
But Anne Hidalgo is still going strong.
Yeah, she is. And she's the only woman, right? The rest are all men, all the candidates.
Yes.
On the left, on the right. Yeah. And so what are her chances?
Well, it all depends a little bit on how divided her opposition will be. And that is the big question, because the La République En Marche party actually are split between two candidates. You have the official candidate, Benjamin Griveaux, who is then supported by Emmanuel Macron. But then we also have the breakaway candidates, the very extravagant mathematician, Cédric Villani. Yeah. And he's an MP for the République En Marche, but he has decided to still go for the Paris City Hall, even though there's already an official candidate. And so this is, of course, risk splitting the vote, and which could then work in an advantage for Anne Hidalgo, because the République En Marche and Anne Hidalgo have been sort of neck and neck in the latest polls.
But there is another scenario, is that Cédric Villani indeed will join or make some kind of coalition with the Green Party. They also have their own candidate, David Belliard, also a man, and it will be very likely that the Greens will do very well this year, of course, because of all the discussion about climate change and it's becoming fashionable to be in favor of the environment. And they did very well last year during the European election. So, if they join their forces, because Cédric Villani, is relatively popular, people more or less like him, also because he incarnates a bit the human side, the left side of La République En Marche, and also the fact that he stands up against Macron. So that could be an advantage. So
I must say that, and he received the Fields Medal.
Yeah,
he's a very respected mathematician.
Absolutely, a great scientific brain.
But it's very complicated to see because, as well, just to explain to our listeners that you don't vote for the mayor of Paris.
No.
You vote for your local council, which is very small. I mean, there are 20 councils in Paris. So actually 1, 2, 3, 4 will now be included in one. So there will be 16. 17.
Yeah.
I will not
You're
get
in
I
the
will
1, 2,
not
3,
get the
4
Fields
now.
Medal.
No, but you will have to vote in the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So you vote for your local council, and then those your local elected people will later support then a candidate for
that's a strange thing in Paris. Indeed, I think there are 168 local councillors, and they vote for the mayor.
Exactly.
And not the citizens directly. Yeah.
So what do you say about, Anne Hidalgo, she is the outgoing mayor. What's her record?
Very hard to say. A lot of people are complaining about her because the whole city since a year is now a big mess. Everywhere they're working in the streets, and
very few of those constructions, though, being part of the city hall constructions. But they're taking a lot of blame for it.
Absolutely. If you talk to people on the streets or taxi
they don't
drivers,
care
it's all against Hidalgo. She's not I don't find her very empathic. I'm not sure whether the Parisians have a real feeling, a sentimental feeling with her or a connection. She's pretty distant. And the economy, Paris is not doing really well. The unemployment is not going down. The city loses about 12,000 people every year. That's, of course, it's very hard to say that's her fault, but it's not really. The city is not really doing well. So I'm not sure whether she will make it. It's also because she's from the socialists, and who's going to vote for the socialists? That's also the big question. I don't really see any, direct results of her actions. She says there are more places in crèches, more places in schools. Museums are free. The city, I'm not sure. What do you think? What's her legacy?
I think she's a very divisive person to begin with, because you really, the hate you can hear from some people. And I'm always been wondering to what extent this is also a question about the fact of her being a woman. Because I think that a lot of the way how this extreme anger and hate that it's somewhere also built on the fact that she's a woman. I'm not sure about this, but I've always had the thought. I think she put one of her top priorities was the fact of decreasing the traffic, the car traffic in Paris. She has fought a lot for it. It hasn't succeeded completely, but there has been a lot of measures put in place. I might be optimistic. I think that we will see the results of these measures in maybe 5 to 10 years, because it's true that it has become even more complicated to use your car in Paris, and the traffic jams are even bigger now than they were before. But what those in favor are saying, that you have to go through this and to change the habits of people, because the only way to get the air breathable in Paris is to stop using cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
and the building of new cycling lanes, how they cleared the banks of the Seine from cars and made them only for pedestrians now. Those are part of it. And then, the crash situation has, I think, improved a little. But what many are criticizing on the other hand is the way how there has been a focus on tourism and making Paris more accessible. You focus on the surface. And for Parisians living in the city, it's making it even more expensive.
Very.
And impossible for families to stay in the city, and which is why we see the numbers that you mentioned. The city is losing its inhabitants because people can't afford to live here anymore. I mean, there are a number of neighborhoods that are being cleaned up. They look really nice. Companies are investing, big brands are coming, etc. You have a lot of Australian coffee shops where you can buy fancy flat whites or whatever you want. But there are more and more neighborhoods where you can't find a boulangerie, where the classes are empty because there are no more children, so they will eventually have to actually close down classes in the schools. And just people can't find places to buy and rent. So yeah, very, very mixed record, I would say. And I think it's not over. She has a big, the campaign, she just announced it, her official bid.
Yeah.
There'll be some intense weeks for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we can invite some of the candidates to So French to talk to, because Europeans can also vote in this election. So
absolutely.
It's about 10%, I think, of the Paris population. So maybe they will be interested in coming to speak to us. But yes, so this will take place on the 15th of March and the 22nd of March, the French municipal elections, and we'll discuss that again in a next episode of So French.
Now, one thing, being part of the campaign here in the local elections, is how dirty Paris is and how it needs to be cleaned up. But this next story is tied to the trash situation and the dirtiness of Paris, but it has a completely different twist to it.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, Paris is dirty, but a lot of people are working hard to keep them clean. And maybe if you have been in Paris, you've seen them without a doubt. The man in green with the little cars.
They're not from Mars.
They're not from Mars. No. But they're very often from other countries. But they're working, day and night, and I always appreciate them because they at least they do their best. At least that's what you think. But one person in Paris thought that they weren't doing their best. This happened in 2018, a year and a half ago. A lady saw a street cleaner, taking a nap in the street in the summer. She took a photo, posted it on Twitter, and she wrote in French, "This is how the local taxes of the Parisians are used to pay their cleaning people to sleep. Now we know why Paris is so disgusting." Now, the company that hired this man, De Richebourg, is one of the companies in Paris that's has the contract to clean the streets. So they decided to fire Adama Cissé for not fulfilling his contract. That's what we read in the newspaper Le Parisien. And this week, Adama Cissé went to the courts to fight his layoff. What happened there?
But this is a story. I mean, it really shows the new world we're living in, because you have a trash collector taking a nap, someone taking a picture, posting, and this person who posted it on Twitter, she had like 40 followers, I think.
Wow.
And the photo became sort of viral, and came to knowledge of the company, who then immediately decided to fire the worker, to show good, to show that they're taking action, and to not be criticized by by the city hall of Paris, because because that they were not fulfilling their contract. And it's a crazy world, I must say. And then, but what happened this week when we saw that the courts took up Cissé's case, it's been a massive outburst of support for Adama Cissé, where people actually are saying that this is outrageous, that a picture taken out of context, you don't know if he was on a break, you don't know what happened, and that leads to the immediate firing of a person. And just for the backstory is that apparently he was on a break, Adama Cissé. He was on a break. He had a medical condition also. He had a note from a doctor after a leg injury that he should take his shoes off if necessary and when possible, which is why he put his shoes next to him when he took his break.
Yeah. What's next?
Well, so this is the Twitter has sort of exploded this week with reactions now to this whole story, and he has gotten a lot of support, we must say, because what we have seen over the years is one of very common photo taken here in France is of MPs sleeping when they are actually sitting in the French Parliament, in the National Assembly. And one of the MPs, which is Cécile Duflot, she used to be the leader of the Green Party here in France. She posted one picture of herself in support of Adama Cissé. It was showing her sleeping with her head on the table. And she said, well, it's not very flattering to be taking, to be caught on camera when you're sleeping. But I know what it's like when you're tired at work. It happened to all of us. And, I show my support. He shouldn't have been fired for what happened.
Yeah.
And then we have seen pictures and pictures and pictures of other MPs who've also taken a nap when they are paid far more than Adama Cissé for their work.
Yeah, solidarity movement. Now, this work is pretty hard. It's always outside, raining, cold, summer, hot, and they're not paid a lot. But most of the cleaners here are not French. Do you think that has to do something with the reaction of the lady on Twitter?
It's clearly some kind of contempt towards either people of color. She clearly can't know where this person is from. Is he French? Is he from outside? But he's a black person.
Yeah.
But also, I must say, contempt for the working class.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's. I mean, the reaction. I mean, the violence in her words, and the responsibility that you put on this person, a single person that you don't know, you have no. It's so yeah. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think there's a lot of racism behind this, but also maybe a social class contempt as well.
Maybe
baked into the whole thing.
Now, of course, Adama Cissé is here because of Twitter, but the lady who posted the photo has also received many threats and insults. And Adama Cissé now says that this should stop because he doesn't want to escalate this any further, nor for his former employer. So he's pretty chivalresque, this Adama Cissé.
Definitely, and we must say that because since he was fired, he's unemployed, and he's now a father of a small baby. So his situation is still very, very complicated after what happened, but still showing this, chivalresque. Attitude attitude towards this woman who has been very, very very heavily attacked.
Yeah, well, maybe that's something the judge will take into account. The judgment will be given on June the 19th, so that's in 5 months, and we'll discuss that again when we have more news about this. Well, that wraps up this edition of So French. We hope you have enjoyed it. You can listen to us on all podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, and TuneIn Radio, and many more. And we're also on Instagram. Our account is @SoFrenchNews, so please follow us.
And if you like French music, check out our free playlist on Spotify, which we update regularly. Just search for So French Music or click the link on our website. And if you would like to contact us, please mail us on news@sofrench.news.
And we're not only online, but also on air on World Radio Paris, in the Paris region, and at the Côte d'Azur. So French is broadcast at 2:30 p.m. local time on Saturday, and then rerun during the week.
And we're back in 2 weeks, unless the strikes will hinder us, with a new episode of So French.
And we hope you'll join us then. Thanks for listening.
Au revoir.